Uh, uh, who's the one that put the shock collar on my balls? Zapper.
I'm gonna stop when I want to stop, not when you want to stop.
Hi, I'm Malicious Melissa and my co-host
Adam.
and our guest, Pup and Pup Arty. Thank you guys for being here.
Hi.
Thank you.
So when did you guys get into the kink lifestyle? You can go first.
So I got into ABDL first when I was like 3, so that was just like the DL aspect of it all.
Can you
for
say
those,
what that is? Yes.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, ABDL is Adult Baby Diaper Lover, and it's more of a fetish based on age regression as well as paraphilia of diapers. Now I've been into diapers since I was like 3, and that kind of progressed, and then I found community finally when I was like 18. So kind of growing up without that is a little weird.
How old are you now?
I'm 23 right now,
Okay.
but I got into pup probably around 2 years ago actually. So I've been a pup for about 2 years, and I found that out at Claw. Claw is Cleveland Leather Alliance weekend. And that takes place in March. And for those of you that haven't been, I highly recommend it.
And what about you? When did you get into it?
Hi. So I actually got into kink because my best friend knows a sadomasochist in Denver, and at MFF Midwest Fur Fest, she was there, and I had my very first scene. I'm what's known as a pain puppy, also or a pain sub if you take the puppy aspect out of it. I am a masochist. I very, very much love and enjoy pain. And that was my very first introduction into kink and BDSM. So after that, a friend of mine, Wildcat Howell, found me on Twitter, and he basically held my hand and took me to the Chicago Rose, which is an all-inclusive club downtown for kinksters. And he took me to other puppy events, and just over the course of a couple months, I found my identity as Arty. I've been a furry for about 10 years. For those that don't know what a furry is, congratulations, you have a much better life. But a furry is one of those people that dress up like anthropomorphic animals, or even if you don't dress up, you identify with the art or the role play aspect of it. And so I guess you could consider me kinky before that, but in actual BDSM, it was around 7 or 8 months ago. So I'm actually still fairly new to it. I would say I didn't find my puppy. I don't say becoming a puppy because I feel like you kind of always have that in you. But I found Pup Arty about January, February of this year.
And how old are you?
Oh my god, I'm 26 years old.
So why do you think you were drawn to the kink lifestyle?
Well, in a lot of ways, I didn't really have like anywhere else. I never really like fit in, and it just kind of is something that just comes to you. It's just part of who you are, and that just sort of like wakes up in you. You're not getting what you need. Your needs aren't being met. So in a lot of that, you explore, you find new things, you have experiences, and those kind of experiences help you grow and define who you become, and that eventually becomes a lot of fun, actually.
And what about you? Why do you think you're drawn to it?
So I am naturally drawn to what's different, what's weird, what's exciting. So that's what drew me to it in the first place. However, once I got into it, like fully, I found a home. I found a community. Like, I found a real community. Lexi Pup Gazer was actually one of the first people that I met on my journey into kink, and she held my hand through it. We had many long conversations about personality, about what it means to have a role. And I feel like I found my place. I know what my role is. I know who I am a lot better now than I did. And I just really found a home. I found people that appreciate me for me, and every day is exciting for me. Every day is a fun way to express myself, because that's part of what kink is your self-expression, how you identify and tell others about who you are. Like me, I'm pink, I'm crazy, I'm out there, I'm always going. And puppy play or pet play along with kink allows me to be that. When I walk into a room, people tell me that I light it up. I start the evening going, and I was never like that before. I never
Before you
understood.
found the kink lifestyle.
Yeah, before
Okay.
before I found the community,
Mm-hmm.
and I identify it as a community. And I didn't have that. I always had that to my personality, but I never let it flourish like it does now. And now I know I'm the entertainer. I'm the one that brings smiles to people's faces, and I revel in that. I take pride in that, and I never was that before. I was a puppy or a kinkster. You know what I mean?
So what were you before you found the community?
Um,
Quiet?
that's a very
Deep question.
it is, but the simple answer to it is I was ostracized and alone.
Okay.
I I had one or two very close friends that really did understand me and really did help me through my journey in life, but I didn't have a community. And I keep coming back to that word because when I sliced my finger open at work, I called Lexi, Puppy Chai. He got to me and he said, "Okay, you know what? This is what you're gonna do." When I was really in trouble with a home and financially for a couple weeks, is people, how can we help? What can we do to help you? Because you are a part of our us.
Mm-hmm.
When uh, Pup Thunder or Scout, I never know what he is. Thunder or Scout. When he got his car broken into and he got all of his gear stolen, everybody chipped in to help buy him new gear. And
Gear
I
is for the role play.
yeah,
Checking.
as far
Okay.
as the harness and the hood, like his hood got stolen, all of
Okay.
his stuff got stolen,
Mm-hmm.
and we identify as ourselves through that. Like, this is me, that my hood is a part of me. And his got stolen. We all chipped in to help him buy new gear. Um, and it just I finally, from what I was alone, and I was emotionally and socially homeless, and I finally found a place. Real quick too, and Pup Gazer can elaborate on this. As far as pet play and pup play goes, for those who don't know, you don't have to have gear to be a puppy. Absolutely not. We I Who's the one that put the shock collar on my balls? Zapper. Pup Zapper morally does not wear gear because he has a problem, and there is a little bit of a problem where, especially people coming into the community, feel bad if they don't have gear, because then they don't feel like, oh well, then I'm not a puppy. When it's just your mental space, just like in any kink environment, it's all about your mental space. It's not about who's got the brightest leather, who's got the strongest whip. It's about your headspace, and it's about who you're with and just how you play. You can be a puppy just tearing through your room, throwing pillows and biting the sheets and walking around. You can be a puppy without gear. And I just wanted to let anybody who's listening or watching this podcast know, if you're interested in it, you absolutely can just come to a puppy mosh in your clothes and romp around and just be you. You know what I mean? So
So he's referring to you as two different things. Can you explain your two identities?
So Lexi is who I am, and Pup Gazer is also who I am, but as a pup. Now, sorry. Now Lexi is Lexi is me. It's who I wake up as. It's who I go to work as. It's who I hang out with people as. When I am doing pup play, when I am going to social events, when I'm going to any sort of kink or lifestyle event, I am Pup Gazer, because that's who I am in that headspace, and in that event. Now, given headspaces, and to elaborate a little bit more on that, we all wear different hats throughout our day, and throughout our life. If you've got kids and you're with your kids, you're not in any sort of kink or work headspace. You're in mommy or daddy headspace. You're taking care of your kids. If you are a pup, and you are, being a master or a sir, you're not in pup headspace during that. You are in your master or sir headspace. If you're at work, you're not the same person that you are when you're outside of work. You have your own headspace. You're wearing a different hat. And I think it's very important to be able to have those separations between headspaces, for when you need to be someone professional and when you need, or when you have the time to be free and be yourself. So I want to go ahead and just elaborate that it is very important for me to be able to have a separation between those headspaces. I think it can be a little difficult or spicy when people kind of mix headspaces in inappropriate times, and you get that a lot in the ABDL community as well. You're not going to pretend to be a baby at work. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble. So I'm a little bit more delicate with my headspaces because of, some bad apples that tend to try and spoil the whole bag there.
And the other thing to elaborate on that too is it's different for everybody. Pup Gazer, I notice, has very compartments. From my perspective, she is this here, she is this here, she is this here for this situation, this situation, this situation. However, then there's people like me where luckily I'm pretty well aware of the line. I cross it sometimes, but that's just, that's kind of me in general. But I am arty all the time. But A-R-T-Y, not Marty. I don't know why, but some people hear...
Your collar says Arty.
But I am some degree of arty all the time, except like even at work, I'm bubbly, I'm excited, I'm playful. But even like I am in charge of some people at work and I have to deal with customers. I do have a very specific professional headspace that I shut down, I go into, and I get the job done. But outside of that, for me, it's what flavor of arty are you getting? What color of, what shade of pink are you getting? Are you getting the full out pup mode, which is I'm full puppy, I'm full me? Or are you getting, I'm kind of pupping around and, bark bark and stuff like that? Or am I, the social arty, the bubbly, happy, crazy guy, but not, doing puppy stuff in public? So, and there's no right way to do it as long as you don't upset the social norms too much. And what I mean by that is, some stuff you gotta, if you're dealing with a mechanic, you're not gonna say thank you, reach over and scratch his head. But then, if I'm at Starbucks and they say, can I get your name? I'll say Arty, stuff like that. So it's understanding. If you're going to be like me, a 24/7 puppy, you really, really have to understand where the social line is and what you can and cannot cross. You see what I'm saying? Like Pup Gazer. I keep doing this because
Switching the names.
yeah, I'm personal friends, and I knew her as Lexi for weeks before I knew her as Gazer, so my brain doesn't say Pup Gazer.
Sure.
But anyway, so like we can be walking on the street, and she might reach up and just scratch my head, who's a good boy, but between us, and something like that's fine. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you have to understand where that line will be. So you can be like her, you can be like me, something in the middle, but you have to understand when it's not socially appropriate. Like, I'm not going to get down on all fours in the middle of Starbucks and start, barking up a tree or something like that.
That's actually an issue that I've had with my slaves. So I have one who will be outside cleaning my car and then bowing down to me in front of my neighbors. And I'm like, get up right now. Like, I do not need these people thinking more than they're already thinking. They're seeing men in and out of here all the time.
Yeah.
And, like, older men a lot of the times. I'm like, what are they thinking here? There's like a prostitution ring? Like, what's up with this? And he's out there bowing. And I'm like, why do they do that? Oh, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, and, they're like at IML, I was with a puppy that we were out and about walking in our hoods, but there was the understanding that, International Mr. Leather, by the way, that we're downtown, there are kinksters everywhere, then it's okay. And even some puppies will, and by the way, when we talk about pup play, you might have heard me say pet play earlier, because puppies are a very specific part of the pet play, but you can be a cat. We have dragons, we have otters, there's a penguin.
Ponies.
I've met him.
Ponies.
Ponies is a big one. You can in pet. It's just puppies are very visible because we're the most common. So we're gonna be what you think of when you think of pet play, but it doesn't have to just be puppies. But anyway, puppies will wear their hoods in public and take pictures. I saw one that was over at the Chicago Art Institute in front of the Lions, took a picture with his hood on. Stuff like that.
I wanna go ahead and,
go ahead.
Just stress the difference between gear and headspace.
Yes, please do.
So wearing gear in public, so long as it's legal by your municipal codes, totally fine. That being said, you also have to understand like the risks of wearing your gear in public.
Wearing a leash.
For instance, if you're wearing a hood in public, it's good and fine. You're not breaking any laws, at least here in Chicago. But you have to understand, if a cop says, hey, take off your hood, just because it's legal to wear a hood doesn't absolve you from having to not listen to a cop. Mm-hmm. If a cop tells you to remove your hood, just do what they ask. Now, I kind of like to push the envelope a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, because your Instagram is nothing but following the rules.
Yeah, so in a lot of the ABDL community, and this comes from a lot of personal experience, a lot of community members have a significant amount of depression and anxiety, as well as just general uncertainty about who they are. And if this fetish or this kink, this attraction, is something that they want to invite into their identity as they, come to accept it, or if they want to deny it and push that away from themselves. And this happens in a lot of kink communities. There's a binge and purge cycle where they'll be into it and they'll be all excited about it and they'll get a whole bunch of gear together and they'll be just gung-ho about it, but then they'll get some creeping doubt that says, you know what, I feel wrong about doing this. I feel guilty for it for some reason. And then they'll just throw it all away. And then as they sit in somber, then they're things will get better. And then they're like, oh, you know what? I actually really am into this. And then they'll buy a whole bunch more stuff. And then it's just a cycle that repeats itself. And that's very prominent in the ABDL community, specifically because diapers are so easy to get. You don't have to order it online or go to a sex shop. You can just go to Walgreens and pick up a bag.
Really?
Yeah.
They have adult size?
Yeah, like adult-sized diapers.
I
Like,
didn't
But
know
not
that.
the ones with the cartoons.
yeah,
and
not
stuff
not not
on
the
them.
not the
Oh.
real good ones,
So
like
the
like
ones-
the cheap ones, but it still satisfies that paraphilic
Uh-huh.
necessity or that attraction. And you might want to wear a couple of them so it feels thicker or whatever, but
If you're not waddling, you're not doing it right.
to each their own.
Oh yeah, I'm not advocating that, by the way. It's just it's a joke.
But when I was going through that binge and purge cycle of depression and uncertainty, I had a lot of that guilt can kind of pressure a lot of depression and that anxiety, and I had a lot of suicidal ideation. You know, I didn't feel right, and this was before I found the community. This was before I realized that there were other people like them. And it wasn't until that I found the community that I actually realized, oh, you know what? Like, this is okay. People are into what they're into. It's not, it's fine. But it took me a while to really get into that. And it wasn't until I met one of my friends, who's actually still one of my friends, back when I lived in Omaha.
Is that where you're from?
Well, I grew up in Omaha. I'm from El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
But it wasn't until then that I actually really came to accept that as part of who I am. And I'm very grateful for that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that live in secluded areas of the country who are into it. Like if you're from Boonesville, Missouri, and I lived there for a short time, trust me, there's no one out there. But I did find some ABDLs in the brush. And right, and they've never hung out
Hunting
with,
for ABDLs in the wild.
Right. But they've never had a social encounter with an ABDL in person with another ABDL. So what I like to try and do with my social media is I push the envelope on diapers all the time. Now the headspace is completely different, but it's the gear, it's the paraphilia that tends to be the guilt about it.
What is it besides diapers?
Diapers, pacifiers, onesies, blankets,
Crayon.
stuffed animals, bottles, crayons, colored pencils, posters, and
Kids TV shows.
cartoons. Yeah, anything, really anything that reminds you of a simpler time, and that can vary depending on what you grew up on. It could be John Deere tractor trailer cars, or it can be like model trains, or it can be
Bear in the Big Blue House.
Bear in the Big Blue House.
Is it an escape?
It is an escapism. Like all kink and fetish, it's an escapism, and that escapism can be cathartic, which is ultimately one of the therapeutic benefits from kink and headspace. It allows us to remove ourselves from our current life's situation. You're stressed at work. You know what? I'm going to put all that stress, all the anxieties, my bills, my personal issues, I'm going to put it all aside for right now, and I'm going to enjoy this moment right here, right now. And then after you kind of come out of that, you're like, okay, gently pick it all back up and prioritize. So it allows you to kind of remove yourself from the situation and, build the things back up instead of it all being all at once.
Yeah, I personally, I'm highly social. Like, I am not somebody that sits in the corner of the room and doesn't talk. I'm right away, I'm there, my name, you talk to me. And what Pet Play did, what kink did, was allow me to finally find the social structure and the social community that I needed. I struggled with depression basically my entire life. I had a very, very difficult childhood, and I survived.
Of parents or friends or both?
A little bit of everything, a lot of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had it's funny because you would never know if I didn't tell you, or you would only kind of guess it if you were a really close friend of mine, and I'm sure you've guessed it. I have a very hard time reading other people, which is weird because I am so social, but I have a very hard time understanding somebody else's reaction to me or what I'm saying, both in a positive and negative way. Like, I will not, when somebody tells me that I made their night, I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything. Or if somebody tells me, you need to calm that down, it's like, what? I didn't really say anything. And I struggled with depression, and I still struggle. It's, for me, it's an ongoing fight. I will fight my entire life, but kink gave me, if you're into video games, a +5 sword. Like, kink gave me better tools to fight my depression, the monster that will be with me till the day I die. I honestly, since I found kink, I only had one day or one night where I thought about suicide again. And there was a very specific reason for that. I was going through a very emotional roller coaster with my best friend at the time. We were figuring some stuff out between us. But since then, I mean, I have felt a fulfilledness. I have found my place, and I am so satisfied. I am. I don't say that I'm happy, because I'm not sure yet, because there's, financial and stuff like that.
You can't be happy all the time.
Right.
I think fulfillment is all we can really hope for.
Yeah, and I feel through kink very fulfilled, because I feel like I finally have the social structure that I need in my life. And, there's still things I want more. Like, I want a relationship. I'm not in a relationship right now. I want a solid relationship. There's always things you want to strive for.
A DS relationship or outside of kink? Or both?
It's probably going to have to be inside, because this is not something I'm going to give up. And if I find somebody that, I'll call them vanilla, if I find somebody vanilla that, they are the person that I need in my life, but then they say, I can't handle your pup play, I can't handle your pain play, I can't handle the BDSM, I can't sacrifice part of myself for you. I'm sorry. And if I have to, then you're not the right person. But what my overall point being is that I'm not saying that kink or pup play can be a cure for anything. It's not, but it can help you fight the fight that you need against those inner demons. It can help give you tools to be better prepared for when the sad times come. So that's what part of what kink and pup play has done for me, is given me better tools to fight my inner demons.
What I want to go ahead and elaborate on that last point is that if you do have a lot of mental health issues or a history of mental health issues, kink is very therapeutic, and it can definitely assist with that. But if it's something that is recurrent and serious, you should definitely seek professional help.
Absolutely.
As well. A therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist. Definitely get some help. If you need medication, get on medication. Mm-hmm. Kink is it's a therapy, and it's a escape, but escape is not a solution.
Right.
It's literally running away from your problems, but that can be good incrementally. I've heard of people. Actually, I've heard of one person that I know of that had gone actually off the deep end, so to speak, by being in pup play for so long. They actually ended up getting committed to a hospital.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and like kink and pup play and headspace, that's healthy in what is that word? Moderation.
Oh, that one. The word with the thing. The letters. It starts with an M.
Moderation.
Oh, I thought you were going to say maternity leave.
No, moderation.
Okay.
Everything is, you can do everything in moderation. Mm-hmm. Well, I wouldn't say everything, but moderation is key.
I'm just gonna do a little cocaine, just a little, just a no. Oh god, it's so good though.
Oh no, oh no.
This is how it starts.
So can you tell me about the different roles that you're into and that you like play with?
Please tell us about the roles.
Oh no.
Okay. Because I've heard him say handler, so can you just explain a few?
Yeah,
Okay,
she is
so,
perfect
well,
for this.
no. So I think it's my personal belief that we all kind of have certain aspects of our personality. And when we go into a headspace, we don't change who we are. We just amplify those personality traits to better fit what we need in that moment. So in that, I am, I've always been an AB, an adult baby, for a while, and that's just been like my go-to catharticism of simultaneously kind of running away from my problems, and that's kind of how it started. It was unhealthy at the beginning.
And
but
this is when you were a teenager?
yes.
Okay.
But after I started getting older and realized that the first word in the acronym ABDL is adult, I kind of really buckled down and said, you know what, I need to be a successful adult in order for me to be a responsible little.
Gotta have the money for them diapers.
Well, you also have to have the social responsibility to keep a job. So, and a social life.
Well, until
if
the
you
lottery
want one,
ticket
if you
kicks
want
in.
one.
Until the lottery ticket kicks in.
Oh yeah, of course.
So you mentioned littles. Can you?
Yes, of course. So I've done a little bit of handling and training of pups and pets, and each of them kind of have their own necessities, their own needs and desires, and it's important in any DS or BDSM relationship to be able to have those conversations with your sub or with the bottom, in order to kind of understand where they want to go and what they want to do with it. Now, I've done handling and training before, but there are certain things that I'm not yet comfortable with, and also, of course, my hard limits that I'm like, I'm never going to do that.
And part of it is discuss that. Not just in pet play, but in any BDSM relationship. It's not going to be like the porno where you just walk in and everything's assumed and you're all on the same page.
BDSM is, I say, 70% the conversation beforehand, 20% the play. No, 10% the play. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to alter that.
5% skill?
No. It's 40% the conversation, 10% the play, and then 50% aftercare.
Yes. Do you mind if I tell them about one of our not conversation, but one of our negotiations?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so me and Gazer have gotten to the point now that we can do. Actually, we did a master slave session or scene, sorry, kind of on the spot. But leading up to that, we had a waterboarding scene. She asked me, she said, have you, because I'm into breath play. For those that don't know, I enjoy being choked and I also enjoy passing out. It is a thrill for me.
No, I'm not in a knockout play, but go ahead and continue.
But it's that can be part of breath play.
Yeah.
So, Pup Gazer negotiated with me. She said, have you ever tried waterboarding? I said, I have not, but I'm super interested. She said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to be safe. And please, please, please talk about safety every time before you do a scene. Talk about what your signals are. Talk about what your words are. Like, for us, anytime me or Pup Gazer are in a breath play scene, my signal to her is a raised paw or hand. If it's clenched, I'm fine. If it's starting to go down, I'm still fine, but it's starting to pass out. And if it opens, everything stops. Because I can't be verbal in a breath play scene. So we negotiated that. We talked about this for over an hour. We talked about safety. We talked about all this kind of thing.
Well, a lot of this was just because you like to push yourself a little bit. And,
real quick.
We did a lot of training on trying to draw the line of when too far becomes too far.
I am somebody, even in my personality, that likes to push the line. I am somebody that likes to try to go farther than what they think they can. Which, if you're being safe about it, if you have a dom that really understands you, that's okay, because they know where your line is and just that little bit to push past, and then you're good. Pup Gazer is starting to understand where my line is. We have done, by the way, we have done a couple scenes together. We do one or two impromptu scenes sometimes, but we're very much developing a part-time dom and sub relationship. It's not explicit. It's just for us. It's not labels or anything, but we enjoy being in a scene together. And so, yeah, communication in that is everything. If she didn't communicate to me beforehand, I might have freaked out. It could have easily gone wrong, and we wouldn't have started to learn each other. She knows very well what my signals are now for when it goes too far. She knows very well where some of my buttons are, the ear thing. And we've started to delve into a little harder and harder stuff. Like, I have a scar on the back of my hand where she put out a cigarette. So good.
Now, I just want to go ahead and reiterate, I am a sub by trade.
Oh yeah, this is very new for her.
I'm a sub by trade, so I'm still kind of learning as I'm going, and I'm definitely getting a lot of advice and seeking a lot of resources from the community at large, as it were. And fortunately, here in Chicago, we do have kind of a surplus of amazing individuals who are great teachers and trainers, yes. And amazing middles. And I always like to go ahead and have someone that knows what they're doing, at least watch a scene or two, and kind of give me some feedback and some critiquing on that.
For when you're topping?
Yes.
Okay. And she asked me, we talked about the aftercare that a top needs, because I didn't know that. As I'm not an exclusive bottom. I like to joke that I'm big alpha muscle puppy. I'm not. But we had a talk about the aftercare that a top needs. So after we had that talk between me and Gazer, I will tell her, I trust you. Thank you for what you did. I trust you to do what you're doing. And she needs that. She needs to know that I feel safe with her, because I do. I feel implicitly safe, and she needs to know that. Aftercare isn't just for the sub. It needs to be for the dom too.
The top is always forgotten.
Yeah.
Always forgotten.
And that's something that I advocate to my other tops when I do a scene, is I need to help take care of you just as much as you're taking care of me, because it's an adrenaline rush for both sides. So after we do a scene, even though all my blood is pumping, even though I am quivering mess of just fluids, I still take the time to look her in the eye, hug her for however long we feel we need to, and tell her, I trust you. Thank you for what you did. I feel safe and I am happy. Because if I didn't, how would she get any feedback? How would she know that I had a good time? Because if I'm not having a good time, then why is she doing it?
Well, so a lot of my aftercare comes from that, like, feeling guilty. Now, coming from a sub perspective, I'm not initially one to just dole out the harshness, as it were, but and so I do feel like guilty, like I've done something wrong, even though, like, I know I'm not. In that headspace, I know I'm doing, like, god-awful, atrocious things, and I feel, like, bad about it, because I'm seeing someone suffer. I mean, I see the smile afterwards, and that helps, but also, like, just the pure act of me, like, I don't know, waterboarding someone in a bathtub, like, that's a little evil.
You're not a sadist.
Hold on.
Hold on. No, I am a sadist. I'm a sadomasochist, but that doesn't change the fact that I don't feel. That
You're an empath.
that doesn't change the fact that I can't relate to I'm.
Well, you can understand what someone's feeling, but I don't know if it would necessarily make you feel bad.
It makes me feel bad, and I think everybody kind of has their own emotional response to BDSM. Some people get off on pain just purely sexual. Some people feel they kind of deserve it, and it satisfies something a little bit more psychosexual for them. For me, it's more about serving for the pleasure of somebody else. I also get something from that, but a lot of it is just because I am not. I'll put it like this: I'm not yet comfortable in a dom headspace to just enjoy giving people pleasure through pain, I should say.
And I picked up on that early on, and I have certain tics when I am receiving pain. I have certain tics, and one of the most obvious ones that I have is I lick my teeth when I get into that really subby headspace, when I am being dominated, when I am hurting so good. I lick my teeth. And with Gazer, what I will do a lot of is, because I know it is new for her, it is hard for her, I put on a little bit more of a show that I'm loving it. Don't get me, it's not that I'm not, but I'm exaggerating a little bit like an actor would, because
For encouragement.
as encouragement, because she needs that. She needs to know that I am still enjoying when she's twisting my ear in the weirdest way, when she's hovering a cigarette over my hand, when she's holding my face in my... By the way, I like it better when you choke. But when she's choking me out, I absolutely love it. But I put on a little bit more of a show to reinforce to her that she is doing exactly the right thing, because she needs to know that as a new dom, as somebody that's exploring her dom headspace, she needs to be encouraged. Just like if you're learning how to ice skate, you need to be a little bit more encouraged than somebody that's just whizzing around. Oh yeah, okay, you're doing a good job. But then the kid that's, stepping and trying, oh, you're doing a great job, come on, just a little bit. You see what I'm saying? So it's not that I'm not enjoying it and I'm telling her that I am. It's I'm very, very happy. I just want you to really understand how happy I am. So for her, I might put on a little bit more of a show of happy submissiveness than I would say my best friend Flop. He doesn't need a lot of the sounds or the facial expressions. He needs a lot of the me doing what I'm told. He needs a lot of me.
Compliance.
Thank you. He needs a lot of compliance from me. That's how he knows that I'm happy, is that I'm doing exactly as he's telling me to do. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm also learning you can learn as a sub. Mm-hmm. You can learn how to be a better sub. So, and I have through Gazer, I have through all my friends, but yeah, it's. Oh, and by the way, real quick, so I just want to say also why I like pain, and I've had a long discussion with Gazer on this, and she very much understands. My Twitter handle is @cleansingpain @cleansing_pain. Mic drop. And the reason that it's cleansing pain is because for me, I'm going at 150% constantly. My when I'm like even half of what I am, that's like everybody else is 100%. And my brain is constantly going, the world is constantly yelling at me, and I'm taking it in and regurgitating it. My engine is always running. But when I hurt, when somebody whips me, when somebody chokes me, when somebody hurts me in a consensual way, it's not like somebody just comes up to the street, bitch slaps me, and now, oh, can we say bitch? Uh-oh.
Yes,
I just
you're
swore.
fine. You're totally
Fuck.
fine.
Oh, damn it. Oh. when somebody consensually in a scene hurts me, it makes all the noise go away. It makes the world be quiet for just a little bit. And I chase that like a high. For better or for worse, but I think I have a good handle on it.
So it's bringing you to the present moment.
It is, but I don't see it like that because I feel like I always live in the moment. For me, it's just everything, the mentality goes quiet. Everything just settles down. Everything, it's like for somebody just sitting on a rocking chair on the deck of a farmhouse overlooking the sunset. Like, that's what pain is for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's that relaxing feeling. And even when I get amped up, like we had that scene in front of Lux at the Rose,
mm-hmm.
The cigarette one, and even when I get amped up, even when I get, my blood pumping, it's still, everything just goes quiet, and all I can focus on is the pain and who is administering it to me. And I encourage everybody to find something like that. Find what your kink means to you.
Find your cloud.
Yeah, find your cloud. Why does this make you happy? Actually think about it. Why does diapers make you feel like you? Why does being a little make you feel comfortable? Why does pain feel good?
I think you said it perfectly. It brought you to a simpler time.
Yes.
Right. And it's just, why does rubber just make you feel wonderful all over, that kind of stuff. So, and then last thing, real quick. So let's go over specific roles as far as, because we are puppies, we can speak to what the terminology is. So puppies have a very fun and very confusing at the same time hierarchy. And it's different for everybody. Very common terms are handler and trainer. Those are two different things. A handler is somebody that watches the puppies and makes sure when you're in headspace you don't do something that is dangerous to somebody else, or even in that what we call a mosh, when all these puppies are together, socially unacceptable. So they make sure that puppies are not going to somebody that doesn't want it and just humping on each other.
It's like a DM for puppies.
Very much so.
Okay.
Well, I want to go ahead and elaborate on handler and trainer just a little bit.
Yeah. And you're better at elaborating on that one than I am.
So everyone has their own definition. And right now, actually, I would venture that not ABDL, sorry, been talking about that too much. That pup is actually one of the youngest kinks, actually.
Youngest is in what?
Youngest in existence, actually.
Okay.
It started off as a punishment in what we would call old guard leather. Being, hey, respect your roots. So old guard leather were the guys that came back from the military, World War II, Vietnam, that sort of thing. They've been with guys for so long, and they're like, "Ooh, I need that sort of rigidness, that
structure.
That structure." So there's like a definitive hierarchy in old leather, and people tell you that every time: sir, master, daddy,
boy,
then boy, then sub, then slave. Or I don't know if
master.
sub's one. Yeah, I already said master.
I'm like half listening.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyways, so and that's actually where AVDL came from as well. If you messed up as a slave or as a boy, now the whole goal of the hierarchy is to get you to sir. It's a methodology of raising you in that structure. A daddy prepares you for a master, and a master teaches you how to be a sir. And in all of that, if you fail, if you mess up, if you don't follow the protocols the right way, if you scuff someone's boot while trying to black it, if you disrespect somebody, if you don't follow the guidelines, then there would be a punishment to that. Now, after however many strikes whoever is delegating, a punishment was in order. If you couldn't be a boy, if you couldn't be a slave because you were messing up, then they would punish you via humiliation. They would dress you up as a dog and lock you in a cage and laugh at you. They would they'd force you into a diaper and make you wear a diaper the whole night and call you a baby. And you know, that continued for a while, and it wasn't until like the late 80s, early 90s when someone eventually was like, you know what? I kind of like
fun.
I kind of like this. I kind of like this. And so thus Puppy and ABDL were born. ABDL I think has been around for a little bit longer than Puppy.
ABDL has been like everybody's kind of wanted to go back to that space where you were when you were a kid. Some form.
Well, so this is where
nostalgia.
Well, no, so this is where I draw the line. I think age players, so like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. Littles are age players, but age players don't have to be littles. You know, if you come home from a long day's hard work, and you just want to like sit in like your pajamas and like you've got like bunny slippers or whatever, and you want to watch like some nostalgic cartoons on Boomerang, you know, some WB, Wile E. Coyote, Animaniacs, Bugs Bunny sort of thing. That is actually a form of age play. You're going back to a simpler time, a time that, you know, you felt comfortable and safe and secure. And that's kind of what ABDL is. And, well, at least the age play aspect. Now there are people that are DLs, diaper lovers, that don't want anything to do with the onesies or the pacifiers, the littleness, anything like that. They're just completely in it for the paraphilic aspect.
That would be me.
Yeah, this one.
You just like the way it feels, or what?
I didn't even think about it until I met this one. And then
what, getting in a diaper?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Pop another cherry.
Hey. I'm sorry, I forgot. We just brought the dab onto your podcast. I'm so sorry. You can kick us out at any time.
Just edit that out.
We can cut all this out. So she brought me, and I told Gazer, I said, I'm interested because I've seen, there's a lot of crossover with littles and puppies.
Puppies are a melting pot, but we'll get to that later.
And so she brought me over one night, and she put me in my first diaper, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it, but I do not, and this is a work in progress because John is very much advocating me getting into little space.
He's really good at it.
Yeah, he's really fucking good at it. I still haven't shown you my journal. I need to show you that. But anyway, so I put on a diaper and I loved it, but I associate me wearing a diaper, and I do it very infrequently, only when I kind of like really want to, with puppy space. I don't associate wearing a diaper with little head space because I have not found myself as a little, if at all, yet. So that's something that's very much developing. I wear a diaper only when I either have my hood on or if I'm in puppy head space, because I don't wear a diaper to be a little. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So yeah. And then so a trainer then would probably be best attributed parallel to a sir. Or a master.
I forgot we were talking.
Yeah,
about that.
Always goes back to ABDL.
sorry.
One track mind.
All right.
So I would say a trainer is very much like
Well, no. I was just checking to see if it spilled. Now what I want to go ahead and pick back up on that. So a trainer and handler, I would attribute a handler to a daddy. More often than not, it tends to be someone who is more in
looks out for everybody.
I wouldn't even say that, actually. I would say more of like the scritches and the cuddles and like the at home, like what you do with your dog. Like more so like a doggy parent.
This is the handler.
Yes,
Okay.
That's what I see more often than not is the taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
the kind of that caregiver aspect. I mean, in trainers, you see a lot of the tricks, the right ways to do things, the tasks, the punishments. Now, since puppy is so like young and so new, right now we're kind of going through what we like to call our adolescence phase.
Mm-hmm.
We already kind of got like we're now on all fours, like we're now
Well, who is
quadrupedal.
we? You two? Or
No, the
we?
community as a whole.
the community at large.
Okay.
So the community at large is now like on all fours, which I know sounds funny, but
Bark.
we're now quadrupedal. So we're walking, and we're still trying to, gather our bearings more or less.
We're still figuring out, because like even you if you go back and look, like there's still not disagreement, but there's still differing opinions.
Well,
and sometimes the handler and trainer can meld a little bit.
Well, but this is what I'm saying, is that we still don't have a definitive definition of what a handler or a trainer are.
It's not like we have boot blacks.
No. In pup, there's a phrase in all BDSM: you can't do BDSM wrong. The only way you can do it wrong is if it's not safe. SSC and rack. You can't.
Oh my God! What a nice rack.
Oh my goodness. So you can't. You can't. There's no wrong way to be a master, unless you're going off like old guard protocols and policies and things like that. But you can still be like a daddy or a sub without having to, to really define what that is. You can be a feeder or a gainer. And that's.
Can you explain those terms?
Oh yeah, feeding and gaining is so a feeder is someone that forces someone consensually to eat food or consume something, and this is probably new to you.
I'm learning this with you guys.
So someone that it's a food dom, so to speak. They eat until they're like, oh, I can't eat anymore. It's like, no, you're eating more, because some people get off on watching people eat. And then there's the people that are eating, that are kind of like the subs in that situation. And that's as long as it's safe, sane, and consensual, and risk-aware consensual kink, then there's not really any wrong way to do that. There's you can't just only eat pizza. You can't just only eat ice cream. And the reason why I use feeders and gainers,
balls on both of those.
Well, so and the reason why I use feeders and gainers is because they are so kind of unique in that aspect, because it's not about pain and pleasure. It's not, well, it is about pain and pleasure, but it's not about physical impact. It's not about impact. It can be about humiliation, but at the root of it, it still is a form of BDSM, and it's not what we would call a traditional master or slave. It's not what we would note as a trainer or a handler or a pup or a sub. It's a feeder and a gainer. But there still is that BDSM DS aspect.
And we're still learning new roles all the time. Like when I first was finding out my pup role, we discovered a new one. I am what's called a support puppy. So a service puppy is kind of like your slave. They are to be used consensually.
I wouldn't say used, and here's why puppy is kind of difficult to describe but very easy to elaborate on, because we are still understanding that there is no wrong way to do pup.
Right.
As long as you're safe, sane, and consensual, and risk-aware consensual kink, there's no wrong way to do it, and that's why I'm circling back to puppy being a melting pot, is that there is no wrong way to do puppy. That we have padded pups, puppies in diapers. We have rubber pups. We have leather pups. We have pain pups. We have sports gear pups.
Oh yeah.
We have.
Where they're wearing.
Like
gear?
Football pads or
Snorlax.
lacrosse pads, right? Oh my goodness.
Oh, that Bears jersey.
And so we have all of these different kinds of pups because it is new, and it's someplace that everybody can find some sort of acceptance of where they're at and what they're into, while still finding a family and a community to be a part of that, and to accept that and to validate that.
Right, like, and as a support pup, it's like a service pup, but with the added caveat as,
well, so
I'm there for people emotionally,
Yes.
as well as there for them in any other role that a service pup attends to people's needs. However, I also attend to people's emotional needs. I have a friend, Puppy Chai, who literally will ask me to just come over there and be around him so he doesn't feel anxiety. So
As a puppy or
friend, puppy, whatever, in any capacity. We just happen to both be puppies, and we will pup out and stuff like that. But I am there for people emotionally, as well as physically, and whatever else a service puppy encompasses. And that fits me and my personality to a T. However, that didn't, as far as I know, that didn't exist 7 months ago. Like, me and Gazer just kind of came up with it when we were figuring out, well, what would your role be? Because I am a submissive. I am a pain slut. I am, somebody that I always want to help. I always want to be there for somebody. I always want to do my part. And we figured out that for me, my role is a support puppy. So these roles and these terms, alpha, omega, beta, handler, trainer, they're very much still evolving. They're very much still getting whittled down to exactly what their definitions are.
I will actually argue that. I'll argue on that. I think that everyone kind of defines it themselves, and that's one of my...
But there's still like an agreed upon base for it.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think an alpha to a beta, there's an understanding that an alpha like says something and the beta does it.
Yeah.
But that's not true. But well, so an alpha is someone that is in charge and a top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not true, because I know an alpha that's a bottom.
Red.
I know an omega who says, "Fuck no, I'm not gonna do what you tell me." Like some Rage Against the Machine, but and they don't get punished for that because they're a brat as well. And brat is often a little term or an ABDL player term, and that's where we're finding with this one.
Just not just a little bit.
But for pup, and for all BDSM, for me, my predominant goal in this community is to encourage people to define themselves. To find themselves, and if you don't fit the mold, make a mold. Invite yourself to the table. No one's just gonna like pull up a chair and say, "Here, sit down and tell me about you."
Yep.
And sure, we would like that, and some people do, but we at large, that's not our job. We're adults. We're consenting adults. It's our specific duty to ourselves and to our pleasure, and ultimately for whatever else we want to get out of it. Thank you. It is our...
Girl, your thirst, get it under control.
Girl, thank you. It's the coffee, I swear. The increased peristalsis.
The hell were you talking to me like I'm some kind of biologist?
No. But anyways, in short, I want to say that defining yourself is the best gift that you can do for yourself. And being your genuine self is the best gift that you can give to the world. Because honestly, otherwise it'd be boring as fuck.
So he says he's a support pup. What is your label that you put on yourself?
I'm not really into labels right now.
You guys are so into labels. That's all I've been hearing for like the last hour.
Well,
Lots of labels.
Well, they're kind of comforting in a way.
And yeah, it can be for some people. For sure.
Yes. Especially in pup, because people want to associate. They want to be able to say,
This is
that
me.
An identity.
Exactly.
Okay.
Especially in such a fluid community, where people don't exactly have definition. Now we do have like contests, and those contests have definitions. Well, actually, those contests actually only have guidelines.
I'm so ready to hear what you are. Please tell me.
Okay, so here's how I identify. I identify as a baby alien puppy.
What's the alien?
Well, so funny you should ask.
Don't send ice after her. She's okay.
So I am. Did you just say that? Wow. So I am. I'm into alien play. That would very much include like ovipositors. I don't know if you're aware what an ovipositor is.
Shove an egg up his butt.
Well, so an ovipositor is a hollowed out dildo that you can make gelatin mold eggs out of with and insert them into whatever orifice you'd like, because gelatin is not toxic. And it's just that it's this fantasy, you know, it's this fantasy of being filled.
Inseminated?
Yes,
Okay.
like
It's
having
taking Alien and making a super good porn out of it.
yes, which they've done.
I know, I've seen like 5 of them. They're great.
But that alien aspect means a lot more to me than just the sexual fantasy. That alien aspect is.
But you're not the alien. You're the human being and the alien DNA is being inserted? Is that what's going on?
She's Riley if she lost in the movie.
Well, no. So I'm both, actually.
Okay.
I am an alien pup who is thus kind of had the way with another alien who put the eggs in.
Nice.
So I'm in. So basically, I guess that's just regular sex for aliens. Yeah, in that it means more to me than just the sexual fantasy. It when I first got into the community, I was definitely an outsider. I felt alone in how big of an ABDL I was. Now that has since changed because a lot of ABDL pups came out of the woodworks and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm into this too. And can I help you?
What? What? They did.
Anyway, well, yeah, they did.
Just random sounds.
But anyways, so it means a lot more to me because I felt alone and because I felt ostracized just by being who I was, and also being trans. That, and definitely not passing at this point, that in and of itself made me feel alone. I was so many deviations away from the norm that I hardly had anyone to relate to. I still don't have super many people to relate to. Either they're trans ABDLs or trans pups. Very seldom do you get a trans ABDL pup.
Skull?
Yes, I do have Skull. But in all of that, being unique and being alone, I try and highlight is not something to be ashamed of, and it's not a weakness. It is a strength if you know how to spin it. And that spinning it is being proud of yourself, being loud, being proud, and saying fuck the world, you don't have to fit a mold. And that's kind of what pup is right now, actually. There isn't a specific mold to fit. It is, being a pup is truly doing for your community whatever you can, however you fit, however you are, come as you are, and do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do your thing, because you're doing it for someone. You're doing it for the community. You're doing it to benefit your fellow pup.
Consensually, though. Like, you don't...
Well,
So why do you guys choose puppies?
Part of it for me is, like I said, it's the most common, so it's what I was introduced to and I gravitated towards, but part of it is...
But you said you were doing furry.
Well, no, what I mean is when I was introduced to pet play.
Okay.
So, when I was introduced to pet play, it was puppies everywhere. Just puppies on Twitter, puppies in front of me, puppies blah, 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 blah. I only knew one cat, name drop Wildcat Howl.
Follow on Twitter and Instagram.
Follow on Twitter and Instagram. Wildcat Howl, he's amazing. Oh my god. Also does amazing shows at Berlin. First Wednesday of the month. Go see that. Name drop on
Shameless
Berlin.
plug. Shameless plug.
Okay.
Sorry. Focus. Okay, so, but yeah, he showed me the world into it, and it's just my personality is a puppy.
Do you have a puppy?
A bio puppy? No.
Yes.
We have to. You know.
We call them bio puppies because if you say like, if you're like, oh yeah, like how'd your night go last night? Oh, it went awesome. I spent hours just fucking my puppy. That doesn't sound right to someone who's overhearing that. You have to
Sure.
you have to
Well,
clarify.
you don't know. You don't. We just had this conversation.
We don't talk about that because that. No, we don't talk about that. We do not talk
Edit
about.
that.
No,
I don't know what's going on.
No. So there's a very common misconception. Sorry about that. There's a very common misconception in a lot of actually not even just vanilla, but in outside kinks and communities that are not pup, that we much as we're misconceived on furries as well, that we like to have sex with animals.
Yeah.
Now that is definitely not the case. That is not the case. Now there are again a few bad apples that ruin the whole bunch, but I've never met any actually. Being in the community for 2 years, you'd think I'd have run into someone by now at all the events that I go to. And the same thing with furry actually. It's a misconception. It's a misconception, and it gives us a bad name. It's actually the same way with littles and ABDLs and pedophilia.
Yeah.
Like, you don't like to fuck kids. You want to be a kid.
So I saw a guy hitting on a girl at one of these parties. Then she was like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the story there? If you can, I don't know what's going on. Because she was acting like a child, and he's like trying to hit on her as if she was an adult, but she's not.
Well, how was she taking it?
She got in the crib with him, so I think. Well,
Was this at the Rose?
Well, okay. So what I
Yes.
what I want to say is just based on what you've told me from that interaction.
Mhm.
That very much sounds like the ABDL or age play aspect that she was encompassing was more of a humiliation aspect, or it was more of like a helplessness or hopelessness, kind of like the way bondage or rape play or something like that would go, like, oh no, please don't, but like also in age play, kind of like the clueless, like, oh, I don't know, like
This
that's how
alley
she was
looks
acting.
like-
Yeah.
That's how
So-
she was acting. But he didn't seem like he was that familiar with the scene and the play. So I couldn't figure out what was going on.
So again, elaborating on defining your own kink, we can honestly sit here and speculate for hours
Sure.
about what was going on, but
Well, I was just saying, like, in your experience, when you've seen this, a little baby and then an adult person who maybe isn't in the scene is hitting on them. Like,
Well, it's kind of like...
So I do want to go ahead and reiterate that the Chicago Rose, along with a lot of other dungeons, are sex dungeons, and people, especially at the Chicago Rose, being an all-inclusive club where anybody can come as they are, trans, pansexual, pangender, whatever, what have you, all kink included, as long as it's safe and consensual and risk-aware consensual kink. Come as you are. Now, within that, you get a lot of crossover from people that are just like swingers, that are otherwise not kinky, that are just there to try and get laid, while someone is in a deep headspace, like an age player, or a little headspace. And, that very, very seldom do littles have an opportunity to actually come to a public or private place or a club, and get to be little with other littles, which is why we have such amazing littles nights, because
It's our most popular night.
it's one of the only times that everybody can come out and be themselves and have that escapism.
we were wondering which one was more popular, the puppy
It's
night
the
or
littles
the
by far, but now
babies.
that the Chicago puppy community is advertising a little bit more, our puppy nights are going to be getting a little bit busier, hopefully. It's
so
on the chat.
well, so we're getting a lot of more support from the Chicago Puppy Patrol. And Chicago Puppy Patrol is Chicago's premier puppy community at large. We do a lot of events and a lot of camaraderie. We hold a lot of moshes. And we're...
And a mosh is where the puppies play together?
Yes, so a mosh is, you often see like the puzzle piece wrestling mats that kind of like interlock. You can see like the fun letters or whatever. Toys. And that's just kind of like where the deep head space takes place. That's where you got your mitts, you've got your knee pads, you've got your hood if you want it. Mitts and knee pads are probably the only gear that you'll ever need as a pup.
Highly encouraged.
No, I actually am going to put my foot down on moshing with other pups. I say you need it as safety. Even with mitts and knee pads, I have been in such a deep headspace during a mosh that my knuckles, through MMA boxing gloves, were completely eaten.
Oh yeah, remember I bled on my first mosh.
And
so
that's
is
with
it? Is
safety
it rough
equipment.
housing? Is that
whatever you want?
It's honestly whatever you want. You can find your favorite toy and go lay there by yourself and chew on it to your heart's content.
Scout is a guard pup. He just literally will be there on all fours watching everybody, and if he sees something that's out of sorts, he'll go over there, separate him, and then go right back to just being stoic and just watching everybody. He doesn't move around. Unless somebody antagonizes him and starts fighting with him.
Yeah.
So how did your knuckles get
so there's only so much padding and safety through MMA boxing gloves.
So this is the glove like this?
So
yeah,
it depends, because there's different kinds.
Well, so there's all sorts of different gloves as long as there's padding on your knuckles and it doesn't make your fingers roll into your fist like this, and it gives you some kind of wrist movement, then it's safe. If your fingers are forced to be in this sort of fist, it can definitely damage your fingers, especially if held for a long time.
When you're crawling around.
Yes, on all fours. So, given as much padding as you can get, there's only so much actually slamming your knuckles down on the mats that is going to protect you.
Sure.
So after an hour and a half, 2 hours of moshing, which amazing cardio, absolutely recommend it. Definitely drink a lot of water and make sure you have someone watching you. Otherwise, there's wrestling involved. People will tackle other people. People will wrestle people to the ground, dry hump
steal
them,
steal their toys,
all sorts of amazing things. And it's a puppy wonderland when it's done safely and appropriately. You don't want any loose collars, any metal, any sort of spikes, any sort of snaps, things that can get caught on things and rip or tear or eviscerate. I love using that word, eviscerate. But you don't want any of these metals or loose ends and odds catching onto someone and hurting them.
Because if I have, let's say, a really big lock on my collar and I'm wrestling with Gazer, and I just turn real quick, this bam just hits her straight in the eye. Now she's got a bloody eye. You see what I'm saying?
Also, just a side note, you also don't want to wear the tail plugs.
Tell me what those are.
So it's a butt plug tail. Now I'm sure a lot of people have seen it with a little furry tail at the end of it. This one is silicone, and it is a silicone tail that comes up that gets plugged in the butt.
Your butt.
You don't want to mosh with those. They are a risk all in.
I've heard that they're okay as long as you're clean.
So they are a risk all by themselves. And if you are going to mosh or just generally wear a tail plug out in public or anything like that, firstly, of course, follow your municipal codes for what public nudity is, and make sure that you are not breaking any public exposure laws. Or indecent exposure laws. But when you're wearing a tail plug in a crowded bar, at an event, when you're moshing, it is a risk, and you need to be aware of those risks. There's going to be people that don't know what pup play is. There's going to be people that see your drunk assholes that see your tail and pull on it, and that's attached to you, and it's going to pull it right out, and it's not going to be pretty. And there's an incident that occurred a couple years ago at Puppy in the Mountains, which takes place in Denver, Colorado, where there was a mosh going on, and someone had a tail plug in, and someone, I guess, fell or stepped on someone's tail and prolapsed them right on the mats. And then they had to go get that surgically put back in, but we're not going to label anyone's names. So there is a risk there. Now, I think if you're starting off on moshing or anything like that, you definitely want to go ahead and make sure that you are being safe. They do make safe tail harnesses that you can wear during moshes. Just, again, make sure that you do have your knuckles and your knees and also your feet protected. You can wear running shoes, sneakers, anything like that, as long as it's not heavy and they have softer rubber soles. Right. And that way you're not going to hurt anybody else or yourself.
And just to circle back, why did I choose, or why did I identify as a puppy? It's just how I asked my trainer before she was my trainer, Pup Taya, who will be giving her title away this coming weekend, hopefully to Gazer.
We'll see.
So Taya, when I was just becoming friends with her, I asked her, I said, how can I get deeper into Headspace? And she said, watch dogs. And so I did, and it actually has enhanced my puppy play. And I identify as running around and playing as a dog. I will go behind the bar at the Rose and just sit there and wait until Gazer pays attention to me, because it can take a while because she's doing other things. And
I'm active and busy, I will have you know.
I am a puppy. Pay attention.
I do have a question. So does either of these areas get sexual?
Oh, of course.
So again, people define it as they are. Some people be puppies sexually, some people don't.
But in the mosh pit, is that going on?
That has to be
it has to be a private event.
Yes.
Private events, absolutely.
Has it happened at the Rose yet?
Yeah, actually.
Before or after me? Because I don't remember it.
I don't think you were there.
One night it did.
I don't think you were
very
there.
Very early on. One night it did.
But yeah.
It can at the Rose. It can, because we are a BDSM club.
Sex pods.
Yes, we have a sex club. But if it's a public mosh, like at International Mr. Leather or MIR, Mr. International Rubber, I don't think that it's okay.
So we also have pup moshes take place at Cell Block in Boys Town here in Chicago. You have to be legal there. You have to make
21.
sure that you're... you have to make... Well, no, I mean, you have to make sure your ass is covered. You have to make sure your genitals are covered. And so there is no sex there.
Wait, no, I thought because they play porn in the back. I thought it was.
Porn is fine. Porn is one thing.
But you can't have sex in the mosh pit.
Yes.
Okay, because I was always, not that I was going to, but I was confused about that.
So you're mentioning a lot of homosexual clubs and things. Is it predominantly more of a homosexual community?
Well, so here's what I want... Well, no. So here's what I want to go ahead and address, is that most of all kink tends to be gay white men. For whatever reason, that is the majority of the very loud and proud communities, mainly communities that have contests. We have IML, International Mr. Leather. Probably 99% of the men that run for that are gay men. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the spectrum, a lot of them tend to be white. Now, for whatever reason, gay white men are attracted to kink. It still thus becomes a patriarchal society. So we're not free from that sort of classist and patriarchal ruling, just like the rest of society. But what is interesting is that if you look at it all at these events, and you look at the spectrum of people and races and creeds and genders, you actually kind of see the entirety of society of at least the U.S.
I was about to say the
at
speaker
least,
said in America. That's common.
at least the U.S. You can kind of see a statistical analysis of those that are represented in a smaller kind of area. You'll see a predominant amount of of white men, which tend to be a predominant amount of the predominance of the people who run the country.
Mm-hmm.
You can
What
see.
about in the adult baby? Is
So
I'm super curious about that actually.
So ABDL actually can be both. It's predominantly
I thought I've seen more female actually in the ABDL, at least in my experience.
so it is male and female, but I see a lot more homosexual tendencies, and it started off homosexual as far as the
adult white males.
Yeah, as predominantly adult white males, and you see a lot more homosexual tendencies in that community as well, and I think a lot of the reason, and this is just my personal thoughts. I don't know this to be true. I don't have any numbers, and
Because
actually
had numbers for every bit before this.
yeah, nobody has any numbers for this. This is completely observation and speculation. But what I believe is that because most gay men have to really repress who they are, and they're closeted for a long time.
With their sexuality.
Yeah, with their sexuality. It all kind of like comes out, and they already don't feel like they fit in, and then they find another sexual escape. And
it was a pun. Comes out.
I don't know. Anyways, so that's just my personal thoughts on the matter. I don't know that to be true. That just kind of seems like the logic that I would see, but again, somebody might have something.
What about your personal identities? So you identify as trans,
Mhm.
and then what are you interested in sexually?
Sexually,
Daddy John.
I am a sapiosexual.
Can you explain?
So a sapiosexual is someone that is sexually attracted to intelligence.
But in both male and female?
Yes, I am pansexual. I am pansexual, but I am a sapiosexual. So if someone can talk and put me in my place, now I like to think I'm intelligent. A lot of people can prove me wrong on that. And, oh God, I want to do amazing things to those people.
I'm sitting here quiet.
Yeah, you shut up.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a sapiosexual and pansexual. As far as my sexual interests go, I do some crossover with AVDL. I do crossover with Pup. I do crossover with BDSM, of course. More sub than dom. I don't really like to have dom to be the dom during sex.
Who else have you experienced dom with other than me?
Quite a few people actually.
And Lux. You did it with Lux once.
Yeah, I did it with Lux. I've done that probably longer than I've been a pup. I've been doing that longer than I've been a pup. Back when I was living in Louisville, actually. But as far as my sexual interests go, I'm a bottom, because I don't like to use this. My current situation isn't optimal for my needs. So
Are you looking to fully transition?
That's a good question. I'm still kind of figuring that out, and I'm defining it myself. I know I don't feel right with it, but I'm always going to be concerned about being wrong with it. So if I don't like it now and I don't like it then, after the fact, then I'm out money. I'm out money and it's permanent. So there's just no going back from that. So until, and I'm 23, I've got plenty of time to figure it out for me.
Do you do hormones?
No, not yet, but I plan on starting those soon. So otherwise, I'm just kind of figuring it out on my own. I'm still young, and I'm still learning.
And then what about you?
I am much less interesting. It's funny, name dropping Wildcat Howell again. He does sexual coaching. I would have before just said gay male. However,
but why did you say it's unfortunately mostly gay males then?
Because, and
identify as a gay male.
I'll circle back to that in just a second. As soon as I explain how I identify myself.
Okay.
I identify now, after some sexual coaching by Howell, I identify as a queer, white, gender fluid male. This is going to be a little bit embarrassing here for me just because I haven't come to grips with it yet. I have experimented with a little bit of cross-dressing. I also do very feminine things. I feel much more fluid than just a man. And I'm still experimenting with that. I'm still figuring that out because, again, I'm very new to the kinky and BDSM. Not even just BDSM. I'm very new to the open lifestyle that I'm living now. And I'm still figuring...
Sexually open.
Thank you, sexually open. I'm still figuring it out. But I identify right now as a queer male. And what queer means for me is that I prefer men. I love dick. It's amazing. It's the best.
We couldn't tell.
And nice swinging hangers. But... oh, I forgot this was PG. Damn it. Cut it out. Edit. We're going to have a lot of edits on this.
We're not going to have any edits.
No!
So this is going to be in here.
It's all wrong.
He's gonna
It's
let
all
it
going
in.
wrong. But at the same time, I am still very much attracted to the female form. It's just I am highly, highly selective of what femininity I find attractive.
Attractive sexually?
Sexually and sexually.
Okay.
Because
but you don't identify as pan.
I don't.
Or like homo-flexible, maybe?
I don't. Queer feels good for me. Okay. Queer feels comfortable for me.
Mm-hmm. But occasionally you'll be with a woman.
I haven't yet.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Well, do I want to tell this story? I ate a woman out once. I was 14. She was 16.
Can we talk about this?
My tongue hit her vagina, and I didn't so much throw up as it just... the poltergeist just came out, and we were friends afterwards.
Oh my goodness, you threw up on her?
Inside of her.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think you're a gay male.
Well, no.
Well, that could have been just that instant.
Yeah, just because I am an oral slut. I
hilarious.
eat ass like it's going out of style.
Mm-hmm.
And booty everywhere. For me, it doesn't matter if it's male or female, as long as it's just gorgeous and smothers my face and just caresses me so good. I want to eat out a woman, but I'm going to be highly selective about it. And also...
So why do you think that you threw up with this woman?
I don't remember, to be honest.
He was 14.
Yeah, I was
Performance anxiety?
Maybe. It was a lot of different things. Also, she just wasn't my type. She was kind of throwing me a bone. Don't get us started on puns. It's going to end horribly for everybody.
Yeah.
But, I am attracted to women. There is a pup that I'm talking to on Instagram that I'm highly attracted to. She is full female. My trainer is a female. And we are not sexual as of right now, but there is an open possibility of that if our relationship develops that way. It's a very new relationship for me and my trainer. I only got her 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we're still developing our relationship, and that is an avenue that is open to us. We just don't know if we're going to cross that yet, but I am open to it. So
Do you guys have multiple trainers?
I have one.
I have one. Traditionally,
One
you
is
have
this
one.
woman. Okay. But I thought you were training him.
No, okay, actually, really quick. So let's just let it's a complicated but not complicated. She was my teacher.
Okay.
Still is. Lexi is still, or Gazer is still my teacher.
But not necessarily. the
She
parent.
was
Well,
like a part-time trainer for
So
me.
here's what I want to.
Oh.
Here's how I'll say it. I have trained him before, but I am not his trainer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is funny because in my phone she's Lexi trainer.
Well, like kind of like you're holding a seminar and someone's like a guest speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not like a tradition. They don't come in and welcome people. They're just the guest speaker. And they might come back. They might not.
Yeah, we've had a couple we've had training sessions here and there.
Is that your scenes with each other as training sessions, or do you guys
Sometimes.
have other scenes?
Yeah, we have other scenes too.
Just kind of whatever. We both. It's a lot of experimentation actually. We're just kind of like learning and growing with each other in different aspects. I want to, and actually we complement each other very well on that. Super big pain puppy, also like emotional supportive. Growing, questioning Dom.
I can handle what
Who
she
has a
wants
lot,
to throw at me.
who has a lot of guilt about it.
Yes.
So
and I can also handle her mistakes.
yeah, so very well. That's what. Well, I can handle yours. So.
What mistakes?
Oh, I don't know, pushing yourself too far.
Okay. Yeah, because let's preface this with I have a very high pain tolerance, which is funny because outside of kink, I'm a little bitch baby about pain, but you get me into kink headspace and give it to me. I just love hurt. So it's funny because, she can experiment on me. What can I get away with? What can I push the envelope with? At the same time, I have had to learn, where do I need to draw the line? And pain is also part of my sexuality, which is very new to me. The thing is I am also attracted to Lexi or Gazer, but I'm attracted to her because I see her as a female, and I'm attracted also to her because she's different as a trans person, but that's a very small subset of it. I am attracted to different. I am attracted to exceptional. I am attracted to something that is out of the ordinary. My trainer is an African-American puppy / furry. Gazer is a very, very good friend of mine. She is a puppy trans female. Another friend of mine, Skull, is a puppy trans man. I surround myself with obviously people that I think very highly of, but I also quality. I also surround myself with what is different because normal to me is very boring. I can't stand it. And also they challenge me. Gazer challenges me on a daily basis to think differently.
Everyone.
I challenge you to a duel.
Can you guys tell me about some of your scenes?
Let's tell her about the slave scene.
Sure.
Okay, so it started with
Who came up with it?
off the fly.
That was on the fly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Started with the ear.
So I have done a little bit of fire play and burning experience with other people.
As a sub.
As a dom.
As a dom.
Now I've also done it a little bit as a sub. I still have a scar on the back of my hand, which is why I felt comfortable doing it, because I've had it done to me, and I've done similar things to other people. So I know how it feels. I know the experience and the sensation, and I felt comfortable because I had practice with other people
So
on
I
it.
don't know if the camera can see it, but right there
Yes.
is the burn.
cigarette bar.
Yeah.
So so one of my favorite things to do, which is probably why I actually got into dom space, is because I just like to put people in headspace. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, you do.
I don't care what headspace it is. I like to put people in it. I like to. That's probably where I get off. I like to get off on being able to give people the mental release that they feel they need, And I say that specifically because I don't give a fuck about what I think or what I need from them. I am all concerned about what they need and what they express to me. And sometimes you can just tell based on how people come to you and they're drained or they're nervous or anxious. Okay, so interesting. So if I were to kind of classify what kind of pup I am, I kind of want to say like a counselor pup, which is a weird way to put it.
It's like a teacher.
Yeah, I suppose. I like to try and help people grow, but as a pup.
Yeah. So going back to the scene, this was actually, I was doing my job as a support puppy in this scene. Because this night something happened, let's not go into it. Let's not go into it.
But, I don't want to.
Is this your best scene that you're describing?
I don't want to say best scene because they're all different, but this one was very intense. And so what happened was Gazer had a confrontation with somebody and it shook her a little bit. And as a support puppy, I just wanted to be there for her. And she was coming down from being upset. She was getting more comfortable with everybody around her, her support system, her friends, her family. And I was sitting there right next to her, just not even really saying anything, just giving her skin-to-skin contact, and she was smoking a cigarette. Well, I forgot how it started. Oh, no, what happened was you were playing with my ear.
Yeah.
And then she started twisting it. And then I started giving her the signals that I was okay with what was happening. And so,
kind of like the hungry eyes, like I wanted more.
Like I said, we're starting to learn each other's signals.
And of course, just to preface, we absolutely did, like, do you want to do this? Like,
yes.
Talk about what we were going to do. And then we went ahead with it. I kind of I was carrying on conversation with other people as well.
This was the best part of it.
And then I kind of like jokingly
Ash.
I didn't like ash on it. I kind of like jokingly pretended to. And then he definitely put out his hands, and I'm like, oh, are you sure? And he was like, yeah. So I started ashing in his hands. He became my slave ashtray. And we kind of went with that for a little bit.
She made me lick up the ashes.
Yep. And after he had eaten the ashes, I was kind of like toying with the heat a little bit, and he kind of gave me some more hungry eyes. And I'm like, are you sure? Like,
yes.
He's like, yes. I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yes. So then I started real simple, real soft, and just kind of hovered it right over just so we can get a little bit more of that sensation. And I worked into it, as anyone should do when you're doing something very new to individuals, as well as something that is of that nature, of that risk aware.
Yeah, it's a permanent mark.
And she also, intermittently throughout this, Gazer does something with my ears that I love. She twists them and bends them so that they hurt, like, really bad. And what it does is it makes me have to go down. It puts me in a submissive position. It puts me at her feet. And periodically, when I was getting back up, what are you doing? You belong down there. She would pull me back down and twist and hurt me until I was in the spot that she wanted me in. And she did not want me to leave that spot at her feet because that's where I belonged in the scene. And it wasn't in this scene, but in another scene, one of my favorite things she's ever done was she grabbed me by the ear, pulled me up, and she whispered in my ear, "I fucking own you." And then put me back to, look at that. Like, both of us are, like, starting to get into it a little bit.
Real good.
But, and in that moment she did. She owned my ass. And also during this scene, she's just talking to people. Like, and that's another aspect of puppy play, too, is sometimes the doms, trainers, handlers, what have you, will play with their puppy like they are a puppy and continue a normal conversation with somebody and only partially paying attention to the pup, but still paying attention to them. That's part of it. And that was part of our scene together. Was I was there as, in that scene, a slave, but I was there as something to only give partial attention to, which I was getting off on. And she turned into a queen. Like, she was sitting there, her legs got crossed. She's putting her hands through my hair. She's taking it and tugging it back and asking me where I was, like, what you are sitting right there, you're being good, and that that kind of thing. And it was as much domination and submission as I have ever been in, and she took to it like a dolphin to water. I mean, I have only seen her in that headspace with me twice. She got in queen mode. She was sitting like this with a puppy right at her side.
And then I got Lux too, so I had 2 puppies.
Yeah, and then she got Lux. But it was funny in a different way, because Lux was getting off on being sissified. Whereas and she knows this, I do not like degradation. That is a hard, not necessarily a hard no for me, because there are different ways where I've had degradation.
Humiliation, not degradation.
Right. So she knows not to do that with me, but she had 2 puppies, both super submissive to her, and she was living it up, and it was a fantastic scene that I absolutely cannot wait to go back to. And it's funny, though, because mine and Gazer's scenes are very much off the cuff, except for a few examples where we've talked about it beforehand, but we will get in the mood, and then we'll have a small talk. Okay, what do you want to do? What are the rules on this? And then we'll get into it, because me and Gazer very much are in the moment people. What are we feeling in this moment? Are we feeling like we want to do a scene? Fantastic, let's do it, and that kind of thing. So.
What about you?
Actually, that was probably one of my favorites as well.
That was such a good one.
I definitely want to go ahead and have conversations, in-depth conversations about the scene that I'm having with my sub prior to the actual play, when it is a more risk-aware scene. Of course, just like anyone should. The only real scenes that we've ever had to really sit down and have those conversations
and the breath play.
are breath play ones, specifically. We haven't really done anything a little bit more dangerous than that, I wouldn't say.
I'm interested in trying impact play with you. But I mean, like, that's just whenever, but I get that from a lot of other people, which is why I don't think we've done it yet, but I'm absolutely open to trying it with you. Plus, I want you to I want Flop to start learning some of this stuff. Flop is my best friend. But we have not tried impact. We've tried burning. We've done breath play. We've done pain,
Rope.
slave. Rope would be. Do you do rope?
Honestly, I'm still learning that.
Yeah,
one.
she's still learning. I would be open to it, but only after she's mastered it. Because that's the thing too. Is Gazer will not do any, and this is one of the reasons why I trust her. I have 3 people. Only 3 that I trust implicitly. She is one of them, because she will not do anything to me that she is not 100% sure she can do. And she will not. She's told me a couple times something. Artie, there are some that we maybe down the road we can do this, but right now I don't feel comfortable doing this to you.
Yeah. One of my fantasy scenes that I want to do as a dom, it's the elemental play.
I can't wait till we do this.
So I want to do waterboarding, with electro play, with fire cupping or fire play, while having
Putting
ice
up
up his butt. So I want to do all 4 of those things all at once.
Our schedules have become kind of too busy to practice this right now, but once they
Well,
settle
Yeah,
down.
but how are you going to do electro play near water?
Well, so the interesting thing is that we're going to do we're going to do those kind of separately, and all that's going to be is just drying off in between.
Right, it's not going to be all at once. It's
Okay.
going to be kind of like an Avatar type thing,
Yeah.
where it's one, then the other,
Like
then
stations.
Yeah.
That's
So-
gonna be an amazing
because
night.
again, safety is my number one priority.
Were
And
you guys ever put in bad situations?
Together or separately?
Separately?
Good. Yeah, that's a good one.
oof, I've had
Because I have one.
I've had a few really bad scenes. Um, one of them, I'm going to talk about this one. This one was in Pup Space, actually, so I want to go ahead and elaborate on this. When I first started Pup Play, it was actually at my first mosh. Now, fortunately,
Really?
Now, fortunately, the majority of the mosh was definitely something to make up for this one incident. But one of the pups that I was moshing with, I was on in most reputable, I'm going to say reputable moshes. They have two different mats. One is like the rough housing mat, and then the other one's like the quiet mat,
Mm-hmm.
where people can kind of just play a little bit more comfortably, with some. Thank you. With some just fetch or just rolling a ball back and forth rather than just up and wrestling. And I was in the quiet side, and a pup took it upon himself to try and instigate a sexual encounter with me while I was in deep headspace for the first time. And because I was in such headspace, I couldn't really say anything or do anything.
Yeah.
I was very much in a very submissive pup headspace, and that headspace disabled my ability to stop something that I didn't want to happen. And I feel
It can also just come from shock too, because when we're not expecting something,
Mhm.
we're frozen when it happens.
it wasn't
We're
so
not
much.
able to react.
It wasn't so much that I wasn't well, I guess I wasn't prepared for it.
Well, you didn't think that would happen there, right?
Well, I'd seen other people doing it. I certainly didn't expect it to happen to me.
Okay.
Especially because I was in pup headspace. Your concerns cease to be, your adult concerns. It becomes, that's a ball. That's my ball, and that pup has it, and I'm going to get that ball.
Skull needs to start giving me his toys because he does not share.
Skull is very good at getting toys.
He takes my sock all the time. And my shoes.
But, so as far as bad experiences go, I was, you could say I was frozen.
Nobody was there to stop it.
Well, I wasn't able to give any signs that I
Indication
didn't want it.
Okay.
Also because a lot of it, I think, was me trying to understand pup socialization. When you're on the mats, puppies tend to have their own language.
Yeah.
And different puppies have different languages. And
Body language especially.
yeah, and a lot of it, a lot of the, I want to say, like, subhuman aspect is trying to define or find the language and speak it. And where I was frozen with was me trying to understand how I can communicate.
That you don't want that.
Yeah, I was kind of trapped in my own headspace.
Okay.
And
what was happening?
I was being dry humped from behind, in doggy position. Sorry, bad pun. Yeah, I
Had
did.
a rough time.
No, my goodness, you're barking up the wrong tree.
At least I'm not peeing on it.
Oh my goodness.
My tree.
Anyways, so I was kind of stuck there for about 20-30 minutes.
Jesus.
Oh, dry humping?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just kind of
I
couldn't.
can't even normal hump for like 10 minutes. Jesus Christ.
Well, so this was a very ambitious pup who was
Yeah.
looking for either a yes or a no and wasn't going to stop until he got one of them. And I didn't know how to accept or decline because I couldn't speak the language. So that was kind of my first toe dip into the deep headspace and puppy moshes. But what I learned from that, and what I want to go ahead and reiterate, and a lot of the times from what I experience and what I learn, I want to kind of make that message as loud as I can get it. I definitely want to reiterate when you do go into a mosh and you do go into that headspace, that does not absolve you from your adult responsibilities. You cannot, and this actually happened at one of the events at Claw actually, among other things. Someone was in pup headspace and bit someone, like just bit them, and it was non-consensual. Like there was no talk about it. They didn't know them, and they blamed it on headspace. They're like, "Oh, I was in headspace. I didn't know any better." And it's like you cannot use headspace as an excuse to absolve you of adult actions. You are an adult. Act like it. If you are not in, and this goes back to headspace in the right settings. If you're
Is
not,
that the worst thing you've ever seen in a scene? The biting?
There's different things in different scenes that I have seen. Sorry, I'm saying seen a lot. Right, action or scene. Mark. Anyways, there's a lot of different things that I've seen. I wouldn't say that one is better or worse than the other. I think they're all
different situations.
No, I think they're all just shitty things and shouldn't happen. I can't say with any certainty that one negative aspect is any better or worse than the other. I've seen people single tail wrap and get kidney areas. I've seen rope suspension in some very delicate areas. One of the points being around someone's neck. That was an interesting scene, and actually the DM intervened on that really hard.
I don't know if you remember, but when, I'm not going to mention the pup obviously, but yeah, you had to have been there because John was there. He stopped a pup from impact play on me because A, he kept rapping, and B, he would, like, his just technique was all off, and Daddy John stopped it, and I showed you the marks afterwards, and even you were like, ooh, because I think he got, like, right by you. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. He did rap very bad, and he was also one of those, like, I know what I'm doing. I'm so good at this. I do it all the time. And we get a lot of alpha male mask for mask individuals.
Not even that, but just so sure that they know exactly what they're doing and they don't need to learn anything else.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that. Because
Is that your bad situation then?
I mean, like, I'm still so young that young as far as kink.
The worst is yet to come. Hopefully not.
So that was one experience. Another was I got used really badly by this one pup at a recent event, and it hurt me really bad actually, to the point where it hurts me to even see them on Twitter or elsewhere.
Used in what way?
Used as in, we were cool, we were friends, and then it wasn't even as soon as we had sex, because it was before that. As soon as he found somebody he was more interested in, all of a sudden I was not worth his attention, which to me, I am an attention whore. Yeah, I'm an attention whore. I just wanted to see your facial reaction.
That's true.
Unabashedly, I'm not ashamed of it. I need attention. That's part of being a sub. That's part of being a puppy. It's small parts, because there's pups, that don't. But for me, I need attention. And especially, even just with a normal interaction, this pup completely was ignoring me in favor of somebody that he found either more attractive or more of a connection with.
and it hurt me because I felt very tossed to the side. Also, I had an incident sometime, and this was a hard lesson for me to learn. Sometimes you can do everything by the book. You can get consent from all parties. You can get permission from all parties that need permission, and still somebody is going to get upset. This was a hard lesson for me to learn because I thought I did everything right. I thought I got explicit permission from everybody I needed to, and still there is a handler that me and him are not talking, even though me and his pup are still friends. I don't feel any animosity towards him, and I don't think he feels any towards me. It's just both of us got very hurt by the situation when nobody was really at fault, and that happens in such a sexually fluid environment such as kink and pet play. It's easier for these situations to happen, and when they do, how you handle them is very important.
What I want to go ahead and kind of elaborate on your point is that this happens a lot in gay sex culture.
Yeah.
Because especially in cruising culture, this happens a lot at events all the time because people are just there to fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not really thinking about a relationship. And if you don't say that you're not looking for a relationship, if you don't say that you're looking for a relationship, they're gonna assume that you're not.
And not even that, but like you had sex with somebody I wanted to have sex with. Now I'm unhappy.
Well, so here's the thing on that is that some people are assholes, and that's...
I don't want to say asshole though, because it's not. You don't have to be an asshole. It's just sometimes you get jealous. Sometimes you get upset, and I think it's only an asshole if it keeps happening.
No, people can get jealous and people can get upset, but if you had sex with somebody that they wanted to have sex with and got mad at you, that's not your fault.
I understand that, but at the same time, it's just you know me. I
if
look for the best in
listen,
people.
if they want to have sex with them, what's stopping them? Did they have sex with them yet?
Yes.
Then what's their deal?
I can't, you know me. I can't, unless I'm very, very hurt by the person, I cannot think badly about it. Like, even now...
No, I'm not telling you to think badly about it. I'm saying the lesson to take from it is that some people are just assholes.
Yeah, well, I mean...
That's in every community. That's in society.
Because, I mean, like, I've been jealous. I've been upset that I didn't get to be with this person. I shunned one person because...
But do you harbor any animosity towards them?
No, absolutely not.
Well, then, there you go, because you're not an asshole. Did you stop talking
I
to
can have
somebody
an
about
asshole
it?
attack every once in a while, but...
You attack assholes every once in a while.
Yes, I do.
Anatomically speaking.
So yeah, like it's just like normal life, complicated situations. Some bad things happen. You learn from them, you move on. And, you're gonna have a bad experience. You're gonna have a scene, even outside of puppy play, in basic kink, in basic whatever. Just make sure that it doesn't close you off from the great experiences that are ahead of you.
Well, is there anything that you've done that you wouldn't do again because it was such a bad experience? Can you think of anything?
No.
My hard limit is belts, and that's because I was beat with belts as a kid.
Okay.
And I kind of thought I got over that at one point, and I still kind of want to work on breaking that. Because I know it's just like rooted in my subconscious as like something that is, when someone pulls out a belt and threatens to hit me with it, that like just them threatening to hit me with it like hits me deep.
Sure.
And
is that are we talking about hard limits here?
No, it's something that I've tried and that I wouldn't do again.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that's just belts because I was triggered. I got triggered, and I'm just like, no, not at all. Like, I got hit with.
You watch other scenes?
Oh, absolutely.
I wish you were a bunny so I could say you were hair triggered.
I'm done with you.
You're been done with me for a long time.
I've said that probably 6 times during this entire podcast that I'm done with you. Wait. I'm done with you. Now it's 6 times. Anyways, so yeah, just anything that kind of really triggered me, I just won't do again. Seldom does that really happen.
There's
But-
people that I won't have a scene with, but there's not like a thing that I've done that I wouldn't do again. But there are people that I had a scene with, and then it's like, you know what, I don't need to have a scene with you again. That's more common for me. Is I'm very picky about who I want to be my dom, and if I have you as a dom and then I'm dissatisfied with it, I'm probably not going to have you dom me again.
I guess a good question is, were we talking about scenes when you said anything that we wouldn't do again?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, here's another one. Scenes under the
From a hat.
influence of alcohol.
Oh,
Yes. So, I, as a sub, have bad panic attacks. Had bad panic attacks when I did a scene under the influence of alcohol, and I've only ever done scenes under the influence of alcohol twice. Once was in Louisville, Kentucky, and it didn't help that the dom was inexperienced. But what I found was that while the scene was starting, I realized that I was probably taking more damage than what I could feel. And that gave me a sense of, it made me panic because I couldn't tell where I was at. I couldn't protect my own body. And I was not okay with that. And especially in the hands of a inexperienced dom, I was terrified. And I had to call the scene. I needed like a half hour of aftercare because I was just shook. I was the shook.
much fear.
One fear. Exactly one fear. I ended up kind of doing, I thought it, for some reason, I thought it was the dom. I associated that with the dom. And because, the dom was saying, it was my fault, it was my fault, it was my fault. So I think that's why I associated the dom with the problem. And then I did another scene. Why does everything happen at Claw? I did another scene at Claw. And it was kind of really impromptu. I had been drinking, and I wanted to do a scene, and someone really wanted to do a scene with me. And they have, it's this really cool, parking garage. There's, the smoking deck. Everyone's, smoking cigars, and, there's, St. Andrew's crosses and all sorts of really cool things that you can play on. And I was on a St. Andrew's cross, and I ended up getting flogged. And it's weird because it's a flogger. That wouldn't, trigger me at all, but I guess for some reason I immediately had a association with the event in Louisville, Kentucky, and I just couldn't, and I had to call, I had to end the scene, and I was freaking out so bad. And fortunately, one of my good friends had their they actually had their support dog, their support bio pup. I do not remember his name, but he was a pit bull. I think his name was Little Bastard or something like that. It was some rude name, just some really mean name that they gave this dog. But he was just this biggest sweetheart. And I'm crying, and then suddenly there's this cute pit bull that's just giving me all this attention, and I was just yes. And that saved my entire weekend.
Bark, bark.
But I guess in short, something that I'll never do is scene on alcohol.
Yeah, I luckily have not done a scene while under the influence, but that's because I've had good people around me. Daddy John especially actually stopped me and Gazer from doing a scene one night because he saw both of us had been drinking and we wanted to do a scene.
Oh, heaven forbid I do a scene on alcohol.
Drinking on gin and juice.
I don't drink gin and juice. I
You
drink
drink-
gin and tonic.
Whatever. References. Thank you.
What else would you guys like to explore?
Ooh.
Wait, hold on. My brain's filtering, which is rare for me. Super rare. I want to
I want to explore. So my scenes, it's funny because my scenes are not sexual. My scenes so far have been pain, doing the thing, and then you're done. I want to experience, and actually I might be doing that today. Flop is coming over and he's going to be bringing the dragon's tongue, and hopefully he's up for sex today. But I want to do more of, because I want to ride my pain high and then have sex after that, which I have not done yet. I also want to very much experience just sexual scenes. Like, being immobilized and then having, what's that vibrating?
Hitachi one?
Yeah, like having that. I want to experience more sexual scenes. And then I also very much want to experience more scenes with femininity, female or trans female doms. Again, it's one of the reasons I gravitated to Pup Taya to be my trainer. It's one of the reasons why I gravitate to Pup Gazer. I enjoy being subservient to those that typically in our society do not have power. That is a very big turn on for me. So that's what I want to explore. And I also want to, and I think me and Gazer are going to cross this line. I want to see just how far I can go, because I haven't been pushed to that point yet. And this will probably be a year or two down the road.
To the point of what? Calling the scene off?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to see where my hard limit is, because I haven't gotten there yet.
What? As far as
any kind of pain. The only time I ever called a scene was I had a shock collar on my balls. Somebody accidentally turned it up to 8. I was on like 5 or 6 the whole night. They accidentally turned it up to 8, hit the button, and I went down like a sack of potatoes, and I called out. My safe word for that night was banana cream pie. And I started crying, and all the doms, luckily I had very good doms around me. Ed was there, and he held me, and everything's okay, don't feel bad for calling, that kind of thing. But I very much want to, I want to explore sexuality in scenes, and I want, and it's either going to be you or Flop. I want to find out where my point of no return is, if I even have one. Because there are some pain sluts that have maybe no limit, but I want to find out where that is. And there are only 3 people that I trust to do that with me. Gazer is one of them. And I feel like as me and her grow, we can try to find where that is.
I've only had one sub that did not safe word, that I couldn't push them to safe word.
Yeah. And I want to find out, am I that? Do I enjoy that?
It's very rare to find somebody who's not going to safe word at some point.
Mm-hmm.
That's like psychologically sound.
I know 2 of them.
Do you?
Yeah,
Zapper and Eamon.
I haven't met Eamon yet.
Eamon is...
Oh, is Eamon the breath play one?
No, Eamon's the one that a mistress at Exit destroyed a boat oar on. Like, broke a boat oar.
I need to meet this woman.
Yeah.
Like, on his ass, and, like, he was just like, do we have another one? Like, amazing individual. Eamon's great.
But yeah, that's what I want to explore. You? More of your dom headspace, obviously.
No. Well, that's just, like, part of me, and I'm growing on that. But something that like, that's I feel like that's something that I have to grow on, is my dom space, because that's part of who I am. But something that I want to grow on, this is gonna sound weird, but like gunge play. I don't know if you guys know what that is. So like slime, like looby, slimy, sort of like.
Where you make your own slime.
Yeah, or you can buy your, get your mind out of the gutter. You want to make your own slime.
I do every morning.
It's slime time.
Oh, that was
yeah. No, I wanna try and, so like I love the squishy, slimy feeling on my hands.
Oh, like when you do the
No. I mean like really like getting into it.
Okay.
like I like to play with non-Newtonian fluids. There's this stuff we make out of like cornstarch and
So
water
GAC
and
just
stuff.
blew your mind when that
GAC
came
really
out.
blew my mind. But I want to like get like, so I'm also like a princess, so like I really don't like getting dirty.
So that'll push your limit.
You're the queen
Yeah,
of
that's
slime.
that's
then.
kind of like me like trying to dip my foot into that, so to speak.
Okay. What's your favorite part of this kink lifestyle?
My favorite part is just being able to be yourself without ridicule or judgment. And I guess I should have prefaced it. I'm Illinois puppy. So I'm Illinois' title holder right now. But what I really want to see now, I know we still have issues with people telling people how to do kink, the right way to do kink, and you know what beauty looks like and all that. But what I love about this community is that it's very heart. There is no wrong way to do it. There is no right way to be a puppy. Everyone kind of experiences that on their own. Some people associate themselves with a specific breed. I myself associate with a Samoyed. But I know people that are corgis. I know people that are poodles. I know people that and just don't associate with a breed at all. It's interesting though, the people that do associate with a breed, you actually can tell in their personality.
What did you think I was when you first met me? If you
I-
say a Chihuahua, I'm walking out.
You are not a Chihuahua. You're actually kind of like a bull terrier, just like so much energy.
See, I
running
thought
around.
I'm identifying with a Malamute like right now.
A Malamute? Yeah, probably.
Because
I can
just
see
like
that.
the amount of fucking energy.
I can see that. Have you ever met a bull terrier? They got hella energy.
No, I haven't yet.
Hella energy. It's
Yeah.
the target dog. I can't believe they got her to sit for a picture.
Oh, the Budweiser dog.
What? No.
Yeah,
The target.
yeah, same thing though, right?
No.
Budweiser had a bull terrier, the Spuds McKenzie.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anymore.
Back in the '90s, they had the whole guys. Whoever's listening
Yeah,
to this,
it is,
you're gonna
it is.
look
He's
it up.
right. It
Yeah,
is,
thank you.
yes.
I have no idea.
I still love that dog.
Thank
I forgot
you.
what it was associated with, though. I didn't
Spuds
think it
McKenzie.
was
Spuds
beer, but I
McKenzie.
think it might have been beer.
Um,
What about finding partners? How hard is it to find partners?
So that's kind of an
For
interesting
her,
part. Like,
easy.
wait, well, so sexual partner or relationships?
Or even seen.
Whatever you'd like to discuss.
Ooh, okay. So sexual partners are plentiful. I know people. Actually, you know what? I know people that have joined the pup community specifically for sex. Like they're like, oh, I'm like, oh, what got you into pup? Pups have a lot of sex, and I like to have sex. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like that's how you want to do pup. That's completely fine. You know, it's like kind of like a DL, a diaper lover. It's like, why do you like? I like the sexual aspect of it. Cool. There's no wrong way to do it. But for I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. What was the
For
question?
partners.
Oh, yeah.
So you were going to
So-
discuss personal life as
yeah.
well as kink. You said
So-
kink is pretty easy to find partners.
Kink is pretty easy to find partners. Well, someone's always wanting to screw anything, so it's pretty easy. But for relationships, you have to kind of find someone that, like, if kink is very important to you and that's part of your identity, you have to find someone that is not only willing to put up with your weirdness, but kind of like intermingle their weirdness. So, like a lot of it is.
So that's how it's affecting your personal life. They have to be involved in this or accepting of it in order to be in your life.
Or at least allow me to find another outlet for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm poly. Sorry. So I don't mind having a conversation with my partner about my wants and my needs and their wants and their needs, and having that communication and that trust to find an outlet that, or a need or a want to satisfy something that is not being satisfied. Now, fortunately for my current partner, we don't have that issue. But it's kind of weird how a lot of relationships kind of end up. They just happen. Sometimes people just click because, you know, the weirdness resounds, the kink chooses, and eventually you just kind of find someone. And we're still learning, we're still growing.
Are you talking about your current partner?
Yes, I am.
So you're in a relationship?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So he was brought up a couple times. His name is Daddy John.
Yes.
He's also the DM at the Chicago Rose. He's...
So he's not just a daddy role for you. He's a actual partner for you.
He's a partner. He's my daddy. He is my handler / trainer. And he's my goofball. And my butthead. I love him, and he's an asshole, but he knows it.
Okay. And what
He's
about for
great.
you? Easy to
I've
find
been-
play partners?
Do me a favor and support me on this one. I have struggled with body issues and relationships for the entirety of my life. I'm a big person, and I'm not comfortable with it. I went from 310 pounds to I'm down to 240, but I still feel not in a very twink heavy culture. I feel inadequate, and I feel very unattractive a lot of times.
Is twink the most
Prevalent.
desired body
It's
type?
prevalent. It's prevalent.
It's prevalent in porns, and in gay sex culture, we base a lot of what we want or what we find desirable, much like the straight community, from what we see in porn, especially growing up. We see the skinny waist, the big breasts, the fat ass, the blonde hair. That's like the ideal, like,
Barbie.
yeah, the ideal female sex icon. For men, it's either the big Ripley muscle guy with hair on his chest, the scruffy beard, and like the big dick, who like just naturally these people just don't exist. They work on that, and that's like something that they actively work on. And then you get like or they just might have like the metabolism or the body type that just comes naturally. But then you also have a lot of the twinks. You see a lot of them as like the bottom. They're the young, beautiful boys that everybody kind of wants. But that's because that you see that in porn.
And
So what are
it's
the-
hard for I feel it's hard for me to compete with that. And I don't get a lot of offers. Actually, I very rarely get offers
Yeah,
for
but
sexual
is that
play.
your ideal body type anyways? Like,
For me,
not for yourself, for what you're attracted to.
for what I'm attracted
Yes,
to,
because you're
no.
watching this
Well,
porn too.
it's-
So do you want a twink?
Depends on my mood.
Okay,
I'm
so-
somebody that's very sexually. It depends on my mood, what I'm desiring towards.
Okay.
But
So you
as
don't
far
gravitate towards a certain.
no.
Okay.
But as far as I've been turned down a lot, which is hard. But at the same time, like I do have one regular sexual partner. I have.
Is this flop?
No,
Okay,
actually, me
'cause
and Flop.
I
Well, me and
figured
Flop
you
have.
said something about
Me and
sex
Flop have
with
had.
that person.
Me and Flop are very much developing our sexual relationship. I've had like I don't even know, like, do I want to say names on this or
No.
No,
Okay,
you don't
yeah.
have to.
So me and a pup have sex on and off every now and again, but it like the free and casual sex I haven't experienced, which
But you want to experience that?
I wish I could.
Okay.
And it's difficult, and it's also difficult because I don't know how to ask for it because I'm very, very afraid of the rejection. And I'm getting better about it, but at the same time, I still have that innate and deep fear of I'm not good enough.
Well, with a previous story that you had described, somebody left you for someone else. That can be considered casual sex, and somebody was casual with you and your feelings, and you had an issue with it.
No, what happened in that situation was the person was disinterested with me before we even had sex. The person was disinterested with me both socially and sexually before we even did anything, which hurt me.
The upset is that it felt like a pity fuck.
Yes, that and I was just used and thrown away. It wasn't like we were both going to have fun. It was like he used me to get off, and then I meant nothing else. That's what my problem was with that. If we have fun, and I've done this, if we have fun and then we go about our way, that's great. But I don't feel like I appeal to people in general, and it's hard for me because I want to be very sexually I love sex. Sex is awesome. I love having it. But I don't feel like I'm up to snuff, especially with those that I desire. Like I said, I've been turned down, and it sucks, and it's hard. And then I'll see those people having sex with others, and it's like, why wasn't I good enough? But at the same time, it's something I'm very.
So it's sexual relationships, it's personal relationships. What about kink partners?
Oh, kink partners.
Is that easier to find?
As far as having like a scene,
yeah,
that I feel like is easier to find, because I am a pain puppy. There are a lot that want to inflict pain in a scene, and that is easier. It's not easy, but it's easier. Like, I just found a new Frost. I don't know if you met
So
Frost.
how are you finding these partners? Are you finding them
Socially.
at dungeons?
Yeah,
are you
like
finding
the
them online?
Rose. I haven't really found.
Messaging?
Yeah, I haven't really found. I need to be able to talk to you personally if
So
we're
it's
gonna do
in
a scene
person.
together. Yes.
And what about for you? Is it more in person?
So,
Can I get some?
oh yeah, of course. So for me, it's kind of a little bit of both. Now, I had mentioned this earlier, that I use a lot of my social media for kink, as well as for benefiting others that are also that have also gone through that mental hardship of trying to accept being an ABDL into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of do that by pushing the envelope with gear. Oftentimes I go out in the public of Chicago and just wear a diaper, and take pictures and kind of show people like nobody gives a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I do to kind of break that mold and help people accept that it's like it doesn't matter and people do it all the time.
So both of you are completely open about your kink lifestyle in your personal life? Like you'll just
I
go
very
out in
much
public?
am.
90. I would say 90% for me. No, nearly 100.
So, but, and I wanted to underline this. I do not typically use headspaces in public.
Okay.
I definitely separate the two because there's a time and a place for a headspace. And sure, there's a time and a place for gear, but as long as you're legal, and you're aware of the risks, have at thee. Do what you do. I kind of didn't have a choice ever since an MTV episode came out, where I was featured in a adult baby episode, and all of my extended family saw it,
Oh, wow.
and so I was like, whoops, sorry. So I don't really have anything else to really hide about my sexuality, because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna pretend it didn't happen. I'm like, oh no, that wasn't me.
Like my cousin and my sister are both on my Instagram, and my Instagram is my puppy life. Unfortunately, my grandparents and my mom know about it, but they're very anti. Especially my grandparents have very much distanced themselves from me, which hurts because they were
because of this.
And it's hard because they do still love me. They still are very supportive of me, but they openly tell me they wish I wasn't the way I was, which hurts. But again, I don't know if this is a flaw of mine, but I cannot distance myself from them completely because I know that theirs is a concern that's coming from a place of love. They don't understand it, and they think that it will be a detriment to me both professionally and socially. So they tell me they wish I was, we'll just call it vanilla normal, because that's what they know to be successful. That's what they know to be something that fits in. They don't understand that I found a place to fit in, and that, so I cannot just tell them, for lack of a better term, fuck off. Like, I cannot.
But how does it affect your work life?
It's funny because I was just talking to Gazer on the way here. My bosses know. They saw
About
me.
the puppy?
Yes, they saw me at market days. I was being walked around by my trainer, and they saw me at market days. And my boss's wife, they both own the company. My boss's wife told me. By the way, my average human name is Mike. Michael. Oh no, everybody's gonna know now. Oh shit, it's all out there. She told me, she goes, Mike, as long as you make me money, I couldn't give two shits what you do in your personal time.
And
I hope I work for her forever.
What do you do? What is your...
I help run my boss's catering business.
Okay.
I won't name companies because this is a kink podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
I help run his catering business. I help take care of one of his restaurants. And I'm very much one of his public faces. But they have been, like, when Ralph had the truck in front of Jackhammer and Leather 6410, I come out of Jackhammer, one of the gay clubs in Chicago, if you're not from the area and you're listening to the podcast. I come out of the club, I have my harness and my hood on and no shirt, and my I have basically my gear on, and I hear he's straight off the boat Italian. Mike, is that you? Holy shit! Comes in, oh my god, this is amazing! And he goes, come on, I was going to go get some cigarettes. Come with me, come here, come on. And he's just like, he's loving it. Just loving it. Cannot get enough. And then, you know, he, at work, he goes, holy shit, you should have seen Mike at the club, man. He was amazing. And, like, he's telling me, I want you to come into work with the mask. I need you with the mask. I want to see you all the time. I want one, too.
Very accepting.
Oh, yeah. My bosses have... I cannot believe the amount of acceptance my bosses have given me. But, again, it's prevalent on me doing a good job. Like, if I was a shitty worker, they would tell me to go take a fucking hike. But my bosses see my personality as an asset to be used to make them money because I deal with customers every day. And like my boss said, as long as I make them money, do they care what I do in my personal time, as long as I don't misrepresent the company. So I thankfully have found a profession, or not even profession, but a work environment that has been supportive of me, luckily.
And what about for you for work?
I am a dog walker, actually, and
Funny enough.
Yeah. And I also, so that's the trainer headspace. But I also do, like, delivery on my bike. I used to work in an office, and my bosses used to know. They were totally cool with it. And then I finally got free.
'Cause I'm free.
Yeah. So, obviously the dogs don't give a fuck, so... and I hardly, if ever, see the clients. So, I mean, no one really cares. I don't really have anybody to really care about it. So, I mean, that's...
But this is very lucky, though, because, I mean, like, you know, if you're in a corporate environment, you very much probably have to keep it under wraps because of HR and that kind of thing. Are you okay? Did you lose your contact?
Yeah, my contact keeps falling out.
Uh-oh.
So I have one last question for you guys. What do you think the misconceptions of this kink lifestyle are?
Do you mind if I go first? Because you're going to be longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Show me the video. I think the misconceptions is that this is strictly kinky. It's strictly for sex. Puppy or pet play is strictly about sexual nature, which it can be, and that's a very big part of it, to be sure. However, that's not all that it is. me and another puppy, Skull, who is a very good friend of mine, and I love that puppy to pieces, they are asexual. However, I have more fun with that puppy than I do 90% of my other puppy friends. Like, me and him are insane. His handler actually, like, dreads every time me and Skull are together because we just are two insane people that just cause mayhem everywhere we go. And it is not about sex. Sex is a part of it, but it is about headspace. It is about community. It is about being who you are. Puppy play or pet play is. And then also just the other one that I have is I hate the notion of you have to have gear to be a puppy. You don't. I have had puppies message me on Instagram or Twitter or Telegram, what have you. You know, how do I be a puppy? And it's funny because I'm so young. I don't know why these people are coming to me when I barely know myself, but I keep telling them, be you. Go romp. I had this one puppy from New York. I told him, just go on your bed, act like a dog. It's gonna be weird, but just get past that everybody's looking at me feeling, and you just be what you want to be. If you want to be a stoic puppy, be a stoic puppy. If you want to just romp around, do that. You don't need a hood. You don't need a collar. You don't need paws or knee pads unless you're moshing. Gazer's completely right. You need safety gear. Just be you, and then if you want to have gear, fine. But if you don't, or if you can't afford it, come to the mosh anyway. We'll give you scritches. We'll give you treats. We will walk you around. You know, we will help you.
What are the treats?
Gummy bears, gummy worms, okay. That kind of. So if you're not allergic to nuts, yar.
Scooby snacks.
Scooby snacks. Like, you gotta be careful. Gummies are very preferential because of allergy concerns. So if somebody has a snack, it's probably, or a treat, it's probably gummies.
But vegans can't do gummies.
Why?
Because gelatin.
What's in gelatin? Oh.
So I noticed I haven't been to a puppy night, but I've been to the adult baby night.
I thought you were.
No, we haven't been yet. So it was a lot of very young people. It looked like 18 to 24 maybe.
Mm-hmm. I would say predominantly it's the younger crowd.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that, because puppies in general are
not puppies, the adult babies.
Oh, adult.
I haven't seen
Then
puppy
you take care
yet.
of that.
So I think a lot of that is because in like disposable diapers didn't really come out until like the early 90s really.
Okay.
So you get a lot of that paraphilic sort of sexuality come from the progression of our I would say technology.
Okay.
The disposable diaper. I don't know if that's a technological advancement or if it's just a product advancement, but I think
I didn't know if it was just like the Chicagoland area, that it was just a lot of younger people.
No, that tends to be the case in a lot of places, and I think it's just because a lot of the younger crowd, I think it's just because we need people to relate to. Older crowd has been,
maybe doing it on their own, but not needing the community.
They've repressed that and have been able to work out what works for them. But in today's society, where everything is judged and social media and everything's looked at through a microscope, you need kind of some like cut loose and be free.
And as
not
the
feel
years
judged.
go on, you'll see 30s, 40s, a lot more. As we grow into our ages, I mean, we're going to be puppies when we're 40, we're going to be littles and stuff like that. So you'll start to see more and more as just the kink expands and gets more popular. You're going to see different age groups. You're going to see those that have been into it for 10, 15 years. You know what I mean? So it's just a process of time. It's just that, a lot of this is young kink that over time will start to develop. And hopefully one day be I want there to be 50,000 members of the Chicago Puppy Patrol. I want there to be. There's a Netflix. Did you see
Insatiable?
No, the magic one. There's a show on Netflix where this guy does magic. Oh, Magic for Humans. There's an episode on there where he visits a pup group and does a magic trick for them. It's tennis ball hidden in a jar of peanut butter.
Nice.
And anyway, so I want, and then there's that commercial in London where it's a car insurance commercial that had a puppy in it, a human puppy. So
so it's becoming more mainstream, and
I
that's
want
what
it to
you
be,
want.
yes.
And then for you, the last question. So misconceptions
Misconceptions about the puppy community?
about anything, about the adult baby, the puppy community, kink in
Um,
general.
I think the largest misconception, and I will continue to highlight this, and I know I've covered it a couple times during this, is that there really isn't a correct way to do exact kink. Everyone kind of does it their own way, and I think with enough communication between the sub and the dom or the participating parties, everyone can kind of get what they want, how they want it, the way they want it, and if we're lucky, all the time, or when we want it. I don't believe in molds. I don't believe in exactitude. I'm not really an absolutist in that. I believe that everyone is unique and individual, and I want to see that expressed. I want to see people express themselves, and to hell with titles or labels. I want people to be genuine. That we have this amazing community. We have this own world that we live in with its own history and its own background. We've come from really we had a really well established kind of beginning with Old Guard, and I absolutely respect it. I respect where we came from, and I think they had some good points in what was right, but I don't think that that's the one. There's only one correct way to do things. I think that for everyone, we're on our own kind of a little journey. And I think for our journey, we need to do what we feel is right for us. And if that is being an alpha pup that's a bottom, if that is being an ABDL rubber dragon, you do what you want to do.
I would also like to
define that if it doesn't exist.
I would also like to add that I want to legalize AWOO.
Legalize AWOO?
Yes.
No AWOO $5,000 penalty.
No, I don't have $5,000. Legalize it.
Free pup inside.
Yeah.
Right.
So there we go.
Thank you guys for being here. That
Yay.
Thank you
was
so
really
much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. This was amazing.
awesome.
Thanks for listening to Bound to Talk. Look for us on YouTube, iTunes, or visit boundtotalk.com.